Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for clicking on the video. Today we are going to learn how to basically put together an entire upper body. You've seen the previous videos that I've made on how to draw human anatomy. Pretty much we're going to put everything together with the exception of the head and the hands, because those definitely their own video. I've not gotten to them. Also, I'm not going to be doing lower body. This is just upper body. We've gone through most of the body parts and the muscle. Bug just flew into my face. God damn, and I scratched myself with my pencil. Okay. I'm not redoing this. Yeah, so we're just going to be doing upper body. I've drawn a bunch of templates here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a template together so that you can see how I do it and basically make a bit more sense of everything that's going on here. It's fairly self-explanatory, but we're going to go through it anyway just so you can get a grasp. So yeah, let's get started. Also, I just want to say, since last time I posted a video, I think I had like over 200 subscribers. Thank you so much for that. I hope you guys are enjoying the videos. And yeah, let's get started. So this is a male torso. We'll do another video about how to do female torso. This is going to be the next video where we're going to break down female torso and draw it pretty much the exact same poses, or similar at least, and go through the whole process. But for male torso, we're going to start with a triangle shape because we're drawing superheroes and muscular. If you would be drawing a normal person, then you would pretty much just go with rectangle. That's the word. But since we're doing sort of superhero, let's draw beneath, we're going to go with a triangle. So start off with a triangle. And clearly we're going to start, these are going to be shoulder parts. Basically, if you look at let's say a bodybuilder, you will see that the shoulders are always wider than the hips. And for man, it's two ways of doing that. One is just their overall skeletal structure from shoulder to shoulder. It's just wider than their hips, or they have basically really big deltoids. So we're going to do basically both. So rather than having more of a neutral sort of build where, for example, the shoulders end here and from here the deltoids would come off, basically it's going to be a larger one and we're going to here. So this is just to indicate shoulders. I put triangles there. I put circles there, not triangles. You can see here, for example, I put circles there to indicate the joints. There as well. There's circles for hands, and I'll get to those soon. Then we need to draw basically the lower part of the upper body, and to do that, first thing we're going to need is a center line. At this point, we can do that. It's relatively straight because it's looking dead on. But if it was a twisted pose, for example, this one, the center line would be going basically around, from the forward along the front part of the, could be between the chests, and going down into the crotch, basically, as you can see down here. But since it's a twisted, it's going away from us and eventually disappears behind the body where we can't see it anymore. So yeah, that would be that line. And so then we're just going to add essentially this lower part here, and that you can pretty much the same as for a neutral body. It would just be like that for the hips. And as you can see, if that's where the shoulders, where the skeletal structure of the shoulders ends, will be where the hips were. It is smaller than the shoulders, and we got a pretty good V-taper and makes a person just look more muscular. But what we can do is sort of round it off like how I did here, because the body is never going to be straight. It's always going to be slightly round. So what we're going to do, we're going to round this off a bit and basically get a bit of a curve going on, make it a bit more fluid. Excuse me. So then for the head placement, this is purely head placement, and we're going to do this also for the other structural parts. What I do, I extend the center line above, and I go from shoulder to shoulder. Make that kind of a small, I usually just eyeball it, however big I want to have the traps, and then on top of that, I'll just add a circle, and that'll be the head. That'll be where the head is, and that's your circle for the head. You can put in your center lines for the head, and then sketching a person. But that's, and then yeah, neck stuff, and neck and head we're gonna do together, a different video that's more advanced. We're just focusing on upper body now. So then, let's put it in the neck there, just placeholder. So now we're gonna be putting in all of the muscles that we learned. So I usually go from top to bottom, so we're gonna start with the traps. It is a bit in the back, but you also see them at the front. Basically, these lines over here, which I put here, that's where we're just gonna follow those. If it's a muscular person, they usually come up a bit and then they go into the neck, like that. Then from this point here, we're gonna get the shoulder blade, collarbone, and then go into the center of the chest. We're gonna curve it a bit because that's where your muscle is also gonna overlap the shoulder bone a bit. If you're more muscular, so we're gonna round it off and make it nice and aesthetic. So then we're gonna just go down, and we're gonna put in the chest muscles from the center. One mistake which I usually do is I make it so that the muscle comes into the shoulder end, end of the shoulder here, but it's a common mistake, which I at least personally do, and it's not true actually. What we're gonna do a bit before, maybe if you take the circle as a reference, right there where the circle, the edge of the circle is, we're gonna actually start going down, and that on both sides, because as we learned with when we did the pectoralis major video, that the pec actually attaches into your arm and not into your shoulder. And so from there we're gonna just bring that back. You don't need excellent anatomy to be able to draw well, because 99% of people don't know this information. It's just good to have it in your arsenal. So basically, yeah, so when you do this, it's not going to be perfectly symmetrical now in my drawing, but that's not a problem. What we're going to do is then this empty space is then going to be taken up by the deltoids, the shoulder muscles. So if we have a line for our indicating our arms, we want them roughly at the waist height, the elbows, and what we're going to do, we're just going to add shoulder muscles going to these lines, because these lines indicate bones. And then we're also going to add nice round deltoid muscles. Nice. So then what we're going to add are the biceps. We know they come from here. Just make them round. Deltoid muscles are a bit small, but that's not a problem. And triceps also come from the shoulder over here, and they go into the elbow. Same thing with the biceps. There you go. And yeah, so let's do the same over here. Well done. So now what we're going to do, we're going to add in the lats. So they also come from the shoulder, from roughly where the shoulders are, because they attach on the arm. So we're going to actually just pull that from the shoulders. Don't need to overcomplicate it. So you remember how we did like this line over here to kind of make everything a bit smooth? Now we're going to go the other way and bring it in now. So rather than having it like this, lats are actually going to come out like that and kind of have like this Y sort of shape rather than a, I wouldn't know how to call this shape. If you measure it as a vase, it's more like a cup than a vase. Only thing I can really say about that. Anyway, back to the drawing. So then we're going to indicate the rib cage at the top over here. I'm going to add an abs. So we're going to add just a standard six-pack. So we're just going to do these little shapes, always indicating essentially the middle and the bottom of the ab, because we're drawing shadows, we're not drawing the actual muscle. That's also a bit of an advanced sort of train of thought, but it's good if you hear it at least. And then we're going to add the obliques. Remember to curve it around. And yeah, you can add these serratus muscles as well. Just give a bit of believable. Essentially, these are just gonna. These are, you can imagine these as the ribs of, basically, ribs that are shown. And then at the bottom, essentially what we're gonna do, we're just gonna round it off like that. Coolio. So now we're just gonna add the bottom of the arms for this one side. So as we know, we have the brachialis and brachioradialis. Did I do lower arms? I don't know if I did lower arms. Regardless. So what you can do for lower arms, essentially, you're not going to start at the elbow. You're going to start slightly, like pretty much halfway over the arm, and you're going to add a muscle right here. And then from that muscle, you're just going to go down into the end, and from the elbow, you're going to go out and down. There you go, and then just circle for hand, and that's as simple as I think it needs to be. Round off some of these muscles so they're a bit more appealing. Make a make-believe fist. And yeah, that's pretty much all the muscles, all the upper body. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go to the other poses. So we're going to start up here. I'm just going to draw them real quick. So we have everything everything that I talked about earlier. We have, so the center line represents where the collarbones will go. If we go extended, sorry, that wasn't center, that was the collarbone line. This is the center line. See how it extends up here like it did before with the head, and we got the triangles to indicate the trap. So at the top here, depending if the head is bending backwards or forwards, that's for you to decide. I'm just gonna have it pretty much straight. Bring it down like that, and we have our head. Put in our traps. There's one pec. This top line for the arm kind of messed it up, so I drew a bottom one, so I'm just going to follow that bottom one. And this is a twist, his body's kind of twisting. So keep that in mind. So what I'm going to do from the lat, I'm just going to pull that line down here, sort of indicate a twisting motion. Same thing I'm going to do with the abs, and just a lot of lines for the obliques because they will be working in this twisting motion. It's also good to know which muscles kind of are working when in specific body movements. So if an arm is straight, then the bicep is going to be very stretched, and if the arm is bent, the bicep is going to be very flexed. It's just good to know these sort of things. I think I did touch on them on that with a bunch of videos, like especially the bicep video. Definitely know and the tricep, the arm videos essentially. I know I definitely touched on that, how they look like when they're flexed or stretched. Important to know because you don't want to. I think it looks weird if a muscle is stretched and for some reason, like the arm is extended but the muscles aren't stretched. They're like still a super flexed state. It just looks weird. It looks like a cramp. So yeah. Then that indicates there's a bunch of foreshadowing, not foreshadowing, foreshortening here. Get that bicep in. Get that tricep in. Make that forearm a little bit larger. And there you go. And now for the other arm, it is foreshortened quite a bit. It's quite further away. So we're also just going to make that quite a bit smaller also because of the foreshortening. There you go. basically in the back, just putting in the shoulder here, the bicep here because the triceps in the back, you're not going to see it. And then the lower arm, let me just clean that up a bit so you can see it a tad better. Yeah, because you don't see the tricep going like behind it, so there's very little point. You might indicate it a bit, maybe down here, but otherwise really not necessary. This up here is the brachioradialis, the brachialis. This down here is sort of like these grip muscles on your arm. That the stronger the grip is, like the Popeye muscles are down here, and the hammer curl muscles are up here. Cool. So here we have a top view. So sort of now the collarbones are kind of curved. So first thing I'm going to do is actually I'm going to just put in the pec muscles, and because it's curved upwards, it's not going to have like that sort of like round shape how we usually have it. Everything's going to curve upwards in a way. So that's what we're going to do. Get that ribbon just. And then sort of because it's foreshortened, everything's coming toward us. Everything that we draw closer and closer basically sits in front of it. So you're going to be drawing a lot over your own stuff. So if you ever notice that, like, oh, I actually really like the way I drew something, but now I gotta cover it up. Sometimes it just is like that, and sometimes you're lucky. And you can kind of make it look better another way. So if you ever get to the point where like you drew a really cool ab muscle, but like you put your arm in front of it by accident, maybe just move the arm if you really want to show it. Otherwise, if you think that kind of takes away from what you're doing, then you're gonna have to roll with your punches and see, you know, what can you cut, what can you keep. Unfortunately you can't always win all your fights. Definitely gotta make that a bit slimmer. Just gonna put the hand in there. Awesome. So the traps you might not see very well if we extend that. You might see them ever so slightly, and make the head also. Oops, make the head rather small. Because it's further away from us. Because you see how I kind of indicate that everything is further away by, like, that we're kind of looking upwards by making all of these lines flow this way. Your brain kind of fills in the gaps that, okay, yeah, we are down and we're looking up at this person, rather than when we were here, most of it was kind of straight on, just the body was twisted, and that's what we were indicating. Good. Next one, this one right here. This one actually I got from a Brett Booth drawing. This is where kind of like the upper body is kind of crunched. Got the arms to the side, and can't really get away with just putting a triangle anymore here, because we do kind of see a bit of the back. So if you put in the head, we kind of put in the traps here. That's how kind of the central line might flow. And you can put it up here, but that would be rather high. So actually you would have to put it a bit lower. Sort of like that. Not too thrilled with this head, but it would be covering a lot because it is in front of the body more than just above the body. So then from here you put in your shoulder blades, and then from behind them you put in your traps. circles to indicate shoulder joints. Since we see a bit of back, we're not only going to do the front and the middle like we did for a lot, and so now we're also going to see a bit of the back of the shoulder. And that's how you can then split it up a bit more. Since the forearm is in front of the upper arm, we're just going to draw that in first. So get that down. That's not the best. Clean that up a bit off camera. It's a bit simpler. So now we're gonna bring in our chest over here. Basically, exact same thing. Only thing that's gonna be a bit different is that this arm over here is gonna be. Is very fast. Anatomy is very loose. Biggest difference for this pose is that the abs are going to be really crunched, and they're also going to be following that center line. So definitely don't forget to add that in. Cool, and the last one we got right here. It's kind of falling to the side, coming towards us. So I kind of made a bit of an indication for where the neck might be. And we can just place, since it's kind of coming towards us and going in that direction a bit, we can do the same thing with the head. And maybe it's tilted a bit backwards, then we see a bit of that. That's a bit exaggerated, but we're not doing this today anyway. So that collarbone goes there. Since we're looking from the top of the traps, we're going to have a bit of this sort of shape, so we don't really need to block them in that way. But what we do need to know is where the shoulders are. Really mucked up man, he broke it in the metal, fighting a really strong guy. Indicate a bit of that, indicate a bit of that. Some lats. That's pretty much it. You would just clean it up a bit more, put costume clothes on it. And yeah, like I said, next video is then going to be about doing the same thing with the female torso. I have not spoken about it, so it will be a lot more of a talky episode where I then explain all of that and the differences between male and female anatomy. Basically going back to this sort of square example and proportions and all of that. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know down below. Hope you enjoyed. Till next time.